Hello, we're talking about debt, the second lecture on debt. This is the normal disclaimer. Can I wish everyone a happy new year? Next slide. We're looking at monthly income from all sources and your outgoings. The reason why this is important is it helps you identify what your disposable income is and what you should be doing next if you've got debt problems. I've set up two slides. This first slide, incomes on the left, outgoings in the middle, and other debt in lump sums on the right. You will see I've included salary, any other incomes, but I've excluded PIP, personal independence payments. Personal independence payments is not income, it's payments from the state to help someone who's disabled with their disability. It is not a form of income, but other forms of benefit are, and also pensions, any rental income you might have, share income, if you would be that lucky, and benefits and other than PIP. So you add them all together. Then you go to your outgoings, and we've topped that one is mortgage and rent, any debt secured against your home, second mortgages, council tax, utilities, broadband and Netflix and all the rest of them, Sky if you've got it, car loans, HP loans, tax for your car and MOT, travel, rail, bus and fuel costs. And you see we go down the list, itemizing all possible monthly expenses. In the right hand column, we're identifying the capital, the amount owed in total, not the monthly outgoings, in relation to each of those items next to it. For example, your mortgage may be a £400,000 mortgage, or it may be £100,000 mortgage, but that's whatever's left on your mortgage should go in, hang on, let me get my little highlighter, should go here, and any other debt secured by a home, etc. So we're looking at the lump sum of the debt actually total. And we're going to the next slide. This carries on. So we've got all the income column, and that's the total monthly income, and that's covering other issues such as clothing, haircuts, pet costs, birthdays and Christmas. All those things add up, and that's your total monthly outgoings, and that's your total actual debt. So then you go to simple maths, your total monthly income against your total monthly outgoings. If there is anything left, that's your disposable income. Next slide. So this will help you realistically review your income and your outgoings. Ask yourself that if you made savings, you didn't shop at Waitrose, you shopped at Aldi or Lidl, other shops may be available, so that you can make a significant offer to your creditors. If this is an option that you could reduce your monthly outgoings and have more monthly income to pay your creditors, that's to consider option number one. If this might work for you, then my advice is to talk to a debt charity such as Step Change or the National Debt Line. There are other charities as well, but you're looking for charities, you're not looking for businesses in those circumstances. I've put a couple of links on to assist, so you've got the address for Step Change and the National Debt Line. In the circumstances where you've got some money to pay the debt, but not the money that they're requiring, you could start a debt management plan. This is where the third party, in this case, one of the debt charities, receives a sum of money direct from your bank every month, and they then send out the agreed amounts every month to your creditors who you have listed. Those companies like that because they know that they've got someone monitoring your debt and also someone acting to get that money to them. So it gives them some reassurance. The benefit for you is it gets them to a limited extent off your back because you're paying regular amounts. Those amounts may be substantially low than in the written agreements, but there's a debt management plan in place and you're not being charged any extra for the charity to help manage that for you. There's no extra charges involved, and that's why you should always go to a debt charity and you shouldn't go to third parties who may charge you for that debt management plan. So we've spoken about a debt management plan, which is capable of being set up when you've got some disposable income. The National Debt Line guidance for when they will look at a national debt management plan is that you must have 2 or more debts. You can afford to pay at least £5 to each of your debts every month, and you can repay the total debt within 10 years. So that's quite a broad scope, and there's fact sheets which I've also linked in. So that's option number 1, a debt management plan. The problem with debt management plans is the creditors still may charge interest, and this may affect your credit record and your credit rating, and it only works if you've got manageable debt. In other words, your income exceeds all your outgoings. Now we're going to explore other options that you may want to consider. For example, options like bankruptcy orders. That involves selling off any assets you've got, writing off the debt after you've been registered bankrupt after a year. Now, some drawbacks with bankruptcy. If the debts you have exceed all your assets value, including any property you have, and there is a little likelihood that you're going to be able to pay your creditors, it's something you should discuss with a debt charity. It costs £680 in fees. It has a lot of restrictions on what the bankrupt person can do and not do. It may affect some forms of employment. It'll certainly affect you if you were a director for a company or something like that. It will damage your ability to borrow for some time, but it is a way of writing off debts that you can't write off in any other way. But you must always seek expert, independent advice before contemplating applying for a bankruptcy order. Because ultimately, if you've got anything of value in assets like a house or equity in a house, etc., it may result in you losing that property. Debt relief orders, they're not bankruptcy orders, and they're not suitable in some cases. But if you're a person of little assets, what some people used to refer to as a straw man or impecunious, there's lots of other expressions for it, but basically you've got more debt than you've got assets. You don't own your own property. You don't have a mortgage, you just pay monthly rent. Your debt's less than £30,000. Then it's an option to consider. It only costs £90, which is paid to the Insolvency Service, which is a government department. It can freeze debts for a year and stop enforcement for a year. And after a year, the Insolvency Service can write the debt off completely. It will again affect your credit rating. The benefit is it can clear your debt if you're in this position. You do not own property or have a mortgage and you have relatively little debt, i.e. less than £30,000. What can a debt relief order write off? Council tax, credit cards, store cards, loans, overdrafts, gas, water, electric, rent, etc. It can't write off court fines, not court debt, court fines for drunken disorderly or vehicle offences where you've been required to pay a penalty of some description. Child maintenance, money owed to the benefits agency, i.e. you've had to take a loan from them while you're waiting for your universal credit to kick in, and TV license. The key thing is, don't panic. Don't panic. Take advice from a debt charity, and there can be light at the end of the tunnel. Thanks for listening. This is number 2 in our debt section. The third one's going to be about dealing with bailiffs and dealing with people knocking on your door and what rights you have and haven't got. So that'll be our third one in a couple of weeks. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe.